This is an It Came From GenX video.
Hey everybody, it's time for It Came From GenX. I am Keith Porter alongside Brian Fisher, Michael Skinner. We are Porterhouse, Skin Bone, and the Fish, and we are glad to be here on this beautiful, cloudy, sometimes sunny, but definitely was a cool day here in middle of August, or late August, you would say. And we got a lot of great stuff for you. Sorry we missed you last week. We had a little bit of a best of show, but we're all three back here today. No vacations, no getaways, no bar mitzvahs, no circumcisions. We're all here today. What's going on, Skibbo?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Yeah, it seems like it's been a month since we've been together, but it's been 2 weeks. Yeah, last week we were at Cedar Point with the family. It's our annual go to the park right before school starts for the kids. So had a good time. Glad to be back. Short week at work the last week, and Yep,
glad to have you back, brother.
Absolutely.
Fish, what's happening, my man?
Yeah, last week, thanks for the flexibility. I just got back from a nice getaway with Allie, lovely girlfriend, and Peyton, my daughter, her boyfriend Joey. Went up to Geneva on the lake area in Ohio. Just beautiful time. Wineries and restaurants and just spending time together. It was real nice. So
that's great. I haven't been to Geneva on the lake since I played there in the 90s.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's my first time up there. All these years.
Oh, really? Yeah, I loved it, man. We had a blast. We were just walking around like 6 in the morning. Went down to the beach. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area for sure.
Owner put us up, but anyway, it was a good place. I might have to get back there soon. Anyway, guys, a lot has happened in the last few weeks, and hopefully, we'll have some good news to tell our fans.
Pam, we have some good news.
Yeah, for you. I already told her, so we're good. Yes, our fan knows. No, but we told our listeners we got some very, very exciting news coming up concerning our show. So hopefully the next week or so we'll be announcing that to you if everything goes well, and hopefully it will. So other than that, Fish, tell them where they can find the show.
All right. Well, these days you may find us on WMVU.org, Global Internet Radio, Mondays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Just pull up their site or app, play live listen, and we are there every Monday evening for you. They also have other fine content, other podcasts, and music and all that good stuff for free. Listen to us whenever you feel like it on demand. We can be found on many major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Verbal, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Just wherever you listen to podcasts, pull it up the app, search It Came From GenX Podcast. Pull us up, give us a subscribe or a follow, however the app works. And as we publish new episodes weekly, they'll pop in your podcast library free of charge, and listen to us whenever you want. Videos on our YouTube channel, It Came From GenX. All show information can be found in two main places. Our Linktree page. Just simply Google Linktree. It Came From GenX. It's simply a page with links to social media and some places you can listen to us. And our website, It Came From GenX. That's one word, .wordpress.com. All show information's there. Links to current episodes, links to videos, promos, bios, all, and also where you can listen to us right through the website. And if you choose to be a show sponsor, our Patreon account can be found right through our website, or just pull up patreon.com/itcamefromgenx. And again, get Keith another more clothing with dollar signs on it. He needs more of that, besides just the headband that he's wearing this evening.
Just the dollar signs. I don't need the clothing.
Yeah, there you go. So you don't have to do that, but if you do, we appreciate it. Best thing you do out there is just listen, follow, subscribe, tell a friend. That's how we grow, and we appreciate your support out there. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks a lot, Fish. Hey, want to give a little thank you to our man, the big boss, Mr. Michael Skinner Jr., all the way in Washington, producing our podcast. We are grateful to him. More than just producing our podcast, taking care of all the technical issues, putting up with our 3 old guys that sometimes we seem like that show Grumpy Old Men.
A lot of user error. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So we want to thank you very much. Also, thank our man Fish here, man, who the work he puts in to make our videos and little ads and commercials look so great, and we're very appreciative of that. So
Thank you, brother.
we're going to up the game here a little bit coming up soon. So just keep your eye out on Facebook, internet, things like that, and you'll see it came from GenX start to grow. All right. Skinbone, what you got in some world news, baby?
All right. I ran across an article which doesn't surprise me, but I thought it was interesting to discuss, especially with our Gen X topic. So, how do you get your news? How does everyone nowadays get their news? I remember as a kid, you had your news at 6 o'clock in the evening. They didn't have the 4:30 in the morning news. They didn't have the noon news. They didn't have the 3 o'clock news in the afternoon. How it is today, but with today, all you gotta do is go on Facebook, go on Twitter. You're gonna see news, whether it's fake or real. There was a study done over like 50,000 people across the world, and they did age groups from 18 to 30. 35 to 50, 50 to 65, 65 and over. And it was interesting to see where the United States, because you know how the United States is, everyone's got a phone in their hands 24/7. But we ranked actually quite low compared to some of the others. The highest percentage of people that got their news from social media was over in Indonesia and Vietnam. Indonesia, 67% of their people, in Vietnam both at 67%. South Africa and the Philippines were right behind them at 65%. So it's interesting when we started talking about this before the show is that the governments a lot of times dictate the news that's given to the common folk. And you made a great point, Porter, and I'll let you go in on that a little bit further, that it happens here in the United States as well. It's just done in a different way. Now, I've spent a lot of time overseas, and there's, you can see you've got the news, and it looks like a government agency putting the news and letting you see what they want you to hear. And in a lot of ways, the local media, the national media here in the U.S. is the same way. Tell them what you were telling us.
Well, when you let's look at the big news, your Fox News, your CNN, your things like that. One, they consider it your left-wing news, your liberal news. The other one, they consider your conservative news. You can watch the same story on those two networks and get a total different view depending on which one you watch. One is a total leftist view, and the other one is a total right view. So, if that's the case, that means somebody is controlling the narrative of each of those major news networks. On a local level, the things that you see. Look at the pattern of the news things that you see. It's the same on every network. What sells? Violence, gunshots, robbery. The young black kid with the hat on backwards selling dope. This is what sells. I have a minor in criminal justice. And we were taught that is put on the news on purpose. There is an object that you have to be able to blame crime on, and they call it criminal black man. This is from the University of Akron. One of their top professors taught us this. They have this actual term, criminal black man. It's one word. And they have to put that on the news so that when people start to fear or get angry, this is who you direct your anger at. And we know that's not the case. We know that I've seen it with my own eyes. The drug dealers come in all sorts and shapes, sizes, and colors. But this is who we see on the movies, on the TV shows, and whatever. So somebody is directing that narrative. You know what I mean? We don't hear enough of the good stories, the people who do the random acts of kindness. How much of that do we get to hear? You know, all these unbelievable things. But we hear all the dark stuff. That means somebody is controlling that. Somebody is saying, this is what we're going to put on the air. So in a sense, we're not too much better than some of these other countries, communist countries or whatever. We're just getting it in more of a passive aggressive way. And as long as we got, you know, a picket fence, a hot dog, and mom's apple pie, people don't pay attention, don't complain, and don't see through it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I was telling you, that with Indonesia at 67%, you got to go all the way down to the U.S. Only 30% of the people that they did this poll on actually get their news from the social media. So, kind of odd that it's that low. I'm really surprised that it's that low. You know, but you're absolutely right. When it comes to the narrative, it depends on what news source you use, and it really shouldn't be that way. Absolutely should not be that way. We should be able to get the facts as they're seen, as they're heard, as they're told by whoever it is, and move on. It doesn't matter what color skin the person is. It doesn't matter if it's some white dude out there shooting up a school or if it's some black dude down there shooting up a store. It's the same damn thing. They're both criminals. They're both doing terrible acts. And I don't care what the left thinks or what the right thinks. I want to hear the story. I want to judge for myself and move on. I can't hear you.
The only way to get to the truth of a story, or at least close to it, is to look at independent news sources. Things like NPR News and things like that.
Good point.
You know, I don't watch news on TV at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
I don't watch.
I haven't in a long time.
Yeah, none of it. I get my information. I surf the internet, not social media, but news sources on the internet. And I don't read just one. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to hear the left side, the right side, and then something in the middle just to even get close to the truth. So, right. And you got to do your own critical thinking. But I don't know why anybody would get their source from social media. That's really stupid.
I know. I got you. Fish, what do you got?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to understand the context of that poll a little bit more. So when someone says they get my news from social media, does that mean that they're just reading people's commentary and opinions? Is that where they're getting their news, or are they picking up, you know, feeds and articles and things like that from social media? I don't know, but go ahead.
It says here.
Hold on, real quick. There's no news stories. Not very many news stories on social media. It's more of a personal thing.
Personally, yeah, probably.
Look, just take Facebook. I don't want to interrupt you, Fish. Just want to point out something real quick on Facebook. Look at all the morons that say so and so died today.
Right. Oh yeah.
That's a false news story.
Sure.
So how are you going to get your news from social media?
Yeah, if that's what they mean, then yeah, I'm with you. But I'm with you, Keith. To just do your own research, look up reputable news sources. Like you say, get different sides of it, get different opinions. That's what you should do. Like you say, you said it perfectly. Some people don't take the time to think critically. They just want to get the hot take scrolling through their feed or whatever it is. Like you say, they don't research it, they don't check for facts, and they go with it, and they retweet it or whatever it is, or they tell people, and that's how these type of things just continue.
I hate when people just repost stuff. They don't have
it's laziness.
Any truth to it. Yeah, very lazy, and it's very irresponsible as well.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to get the truth, go to Wikipedia. They can't lie at all.
Right, sure. Yeah, exactly.
You almost got both of us on that one for a second.
Right? It was quiet for a second.
So just from us older guys, don't get lazy, guys. Just look up articles.
Right.
Get the facts.
Do some thinking.
Do some thinking out there. Exactly.
Review the source before you start wailing away on a
Ain't
topic.
That the truth?
If you're gonna get your news from one source, make it came from GenX. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
There you go.
That's what I would do. There you go.
Right.
All right. Good. That's a really good topic there. We could go so many different ways with that one, man. Thank you.
Yeah, sure could.
You know, also I would bet have an awesome opinion on this, Junior.
Yes, he would. Absolutely.
Yeah, I might like to hear from him on that. Okay. All right. Well, little bit of sports and music for you. On the sports side, last week we had a little story that I didn't get to, but we're going to get to it today. Deion Sanders. For the record,
Deion.
Yeah, Deion, prime time, all that stuff. I've never liked this guy. I'll go as far as to say as I loathe him. I just can't stand arrogant people. Look at me. You got to make up a persona. Stop it. Stop it. Why can't you just be Deion Sanders? You got to be prime time. And I can't say anybody who refers to themselves in third person. But anyway,
I've never liked from 95 to 96. I did like him there.
I know you did.
I bet you did.
Hey, and I'm going to say this. I love to watch him play. Yeah. I love to watch the guy play.
As he kept his mouth shut, he was fine.
Right. Mm-hmm. He was arguably the greatest corner ever, But Deion came out with a statement last week, guys, and I'm not going to bother to read it. I will accurately give the nuts and bolts of it. He said, and I'm going to be fair, he said he looks the Hall of Fame, respects the Hall of Fame. He thinks everybody who's in the Hall of Fame should be in the Hall of Fame, pretty much. But he said, and I quote, there should be a special wing for players who went above the game and beyond the game. He said they should have a different color jacket, like himself. And he also said that his bust shouldn't be in the same room as everybody else's bust. So before I say anything, Fish, how you feel about this?
That's dumb. That's it's to achieve that is the ultimate achievement of a play, and it seems like they put thought into that. It's like that whole process. I mean, you could definitely make an argument that there's guys that should be in there already that's not, and vice versa, right? I mean, I get all that part of it. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily agree with some of the opinions of it's not the, it's not the Hall of Fame. Some people think it's, some mediocre players are getting in and so forth.
Yeah.
All that's crazy. Once you to be voted in there, you are amongst the greatest of the great to ever play the game or be affiliated with the game in some way, shape, or form, and make an impact. That to have some type of other level within there, that would be crazy, insane nuts to try to do anything like that. It's just a Deion Sanders opinion. That's what it is. You know what I mean? So just don't pay any mind.
Agreeing with him today, Terrell Owens.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, big surprise there.
I'm just waiting on Antonio Brown, man.
Sure. That's right.
All right. Yeah. What do you think, Skibbo?
Yeah, see, Deion Sanders played for my 49ers, and I couldn't stand him when he opened his mouth then, and I still can't do it today. And Terrell Owens, the same one. I don't know what it is with these 49ers / wide receivers. God,
NFC East players.
Why do they think that they don't put their feet in their pants the same way everybody else does? I don't get it. Good football players, between the lines. Between the ears, they're dumber than a box of rocks, in my opinion.
Now, I'll be fair. Excellent football players.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's what I said. Between the lines
the
on
best
the field.
At what they did.
But for you to sit there and tell us that there's the cream of the crop and then there's everybody else, if you are not good enough to make the Hall of Fame, you are that lower tier. If you got that yellow jacket, guess what? You're cream of the crop. I don't care what Deion Sanders says. I don't care what Terrell Owens says. Stephen A. Smith probably would agree with them with that blowhard.
I tried to catch what he said about it. I haven't been able to. I'll find it.
So, bottom line, dumb statement. It can never happen. It won't happen. Deion, go away.
Okay. All right, great. I wanted to hear what you guys had to say. First and foremost, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. Now, I think because money always is behind everything. The Hall of Fame maybe, I'm just speculating, maybe feels like you have to pick so many players every year to have a good, well-rounded show or, or spectacle or whatever. Because there's quite a few that they put in every year. But if you look at all the players that haven't been put in, that should be put in, and I think a lot of them some of them have passed away or whatever and can't be there. I think that's part of it. I think that's why we got so many guys getting put in, because they're looking at demographics. How old is this player? What team are they from? Can they make it to the show, to the ceremony? All these different things I think play into it. So
Sure.
I kind of get the point that maybe the Hall of Fame should have been kept for those real special ones. I could also see the point where it was anybody who gave their heart to the game, put them in the Hall of Fame. I could see both sides. Anyway, with that being said,
let me say, I'll add with the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. Neither team has won a Super Bowl since Deion Sanders left that team.
Well, yeah, you say that about
How about that? Just say
whatever. Okay, all right, okay. Anyway,
way to bring it down, Fish.
Yeah, thank you, Fish.
It is the truth.
With that being said,
yep,
I've heard this comment. Junior said it. Fish, you even said it earlier, and I've heard there's been a few people who said it in the sports media world. Oh, I get his point. My thing is this: even if it were a good point, you don't say it. Because what is this whole thing about team? Why does that end? Because you no longer play. What is it about? It's about us, 11 brothers on the field at one time, and blah 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 blah. It's about team. It's about the name on the front of the jersey. Nothing. Oh, where does all that disappear? Deion Sanders played a few years for the Atlanta Falcons, and he was great. That was his youngest year. He was, hot. What did the Atlanta Falcons win? Nothing. You didn't win anything until you went to an already established great football team, the 49ers, with a Hall of Fame quarterback. Roger Craig, Hall of Fame defenders, Hall of Fame tight end. You didn't win anything until you went to that team. Then you went to one of the greatest teams in history, the 90 Cowboys. Greatest offensive line maybe in history. All-time leading rusher. You didn't win anything till you went to those teams. So you're not that great as you think you are. You played on some great football teams. And the nerve to say, if you were good enough to be on the field with all those players, then you're good enough to have your bust in the same room with all those players.
Yep.
It's an asinine statement. And what kind of message does it send to the young football players? We already got this me attitude permeating our youth now. You see it on music videos, and now it's getting in sports. Me. We got a lot of players aren't playing now because they were me. You mentioned Terrell Owens. We mentioned Antonio Brown. These were guys who would rather have, 8 catches, 173 yards, and 3 touchdowns and lose than have, 2 catches and win. So I just thought it was just a bad look. This guy's a football coach. It doesn't send a very good message to our young people. And I thought it was a real asinine statement, and shame on him. That's just my opinion. So that's my sports story. Preseason football has started. Steelers are looking really, really good. Kenny Pickett is looking as advertised.
It's preseason.
You know what? Don't hate.
It's preseason. Hell, the Browns look good, and it's preseason.
Hatred looks really ugly on you, man. I know it's preseason. I'm talking about in a preseason way. Kenny Pickett set the record for the highest rated rating of a quarterback in preseason history for a rookie.
What did he play against? The third stringers against the other team?
Yes, he did. Then he came out with the first stringers Saturday and did the same thing.
Okay.
Now, I said that too because everybody was going crazy over Pickett, saying he should be the starter after his debut last week. And I said, well, I think Mr. Trubisky had the best game because Trubisky had the best NFL throw. Kenny Pickett played against second and third stringers, but you got to look at it like this. He played with second and third stringers as well. He had a second and third string offensive line, second and third string receivers. So it's all washes out in the end. But
Okay.
he went against the one Saturday and he did pretty good. So don't hate. Congratulations.
I wish him luck, but it is preseason. Just remember that.
I hear you, brother. All right, let's talk a little bit of music, guys. We got a cool top 4 list coming up, and I got a couple of those blurbs in today's music. First, guys, I want to talk about last week we didn't get to talk about the anniversary of the death of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. And today is actually the anniversary of when he started his first movie, Love Me Tender. It was a Civil War drama. He played Clint Reno, youngest of 4 brothers. And the movie was going to actually be titled The Reno Brothers, but it was changed to take advantage of the song Love Me Tender. And, of course, it launched a heck of a movie career for Elvis Presley.
You know what? I've never watched one Elvis movie.
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
My gosh.
Just haven't taken the time
What
to do it.
Fun.
You need to change that.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah, don't you guys ever say nothing to me about what I haven't watched.
Oh, no, that's coming up in this episode. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Not watching an Elvis movie to movies you haven't seen.
There's only 3 you need to see. 4.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Love Me Tender, King Creole, Jailhouse Rock, and the best one of all, the greatest Elvis movie ever, Roustabout.
Okay. That's 4, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, 4.
Did you say 4? Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
So yeah, Roustabout was great. A lot of people like Blue Hawaii, but I don't.
I thought you were going to say Blue Hawaii.
No, I like Roustabout, man. He's the singer in a nightclub, rides a motorcycle, leather jacket, tough guy. And he's traveling. He doesn't stay in one place too long. He always quits on the owner. And he's traveling through the countryside. And there's a carnival owner with his wife, played by, she was the mother in Big Valley with the white hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's Barbara Stanwyck. Is that it? Yeah.
I think that
sounds right.
Yeah, and they have a very nice-looking, attractive daughter, and he's riding along near, flirting with her, and the father's a mean old guy named Joe, and swerves his car to teach him a lesson, and he wrecks his bike, goes through a fence, and so they're ready to fight, and of course the mom says, we'll replace your bike, come on to our carnival, we'll fix you up, get you some food or whatever, and the carnival's struggling, and he's trying to hit on the daughter, and he just grabs a guitar and starts singing one night and changes everything. And everybody's coming to see him. But, of course, he leaves to go work for the competitor. It's a really good movie, man. I love that movie. Great song. Kind of like Grease. All the songs are great. Okay, guys. I got to bring this up about Elvis, though. I watched a video that I sent to you guys just a little bit ago while we were talking. And I hate that you didn't get to watch it beforehand. But it is an amazing video of a man by the name of Roy Hamilton, a black artist from the 50s who put out a couple of records that didn't get any airplay. Roy Hamilton, if you heard it, you would say, no, that's Elvis singing. Elvis was friends with Roy Hamilton, saw him sing, saw his style, and loved it. And it is said that he borrowed that, took it, and, of course, went on to be the king of rock and roll with it. Now, I haven't vetted this story, but you got to hear this guy sing, watch the videos. It's amazing. Let's just assume that's true. We also know he took Hound Dog, Big Mama Thornton, and he got a lot of credit for that. We know that there was a lot of things going on back during that time, especially with black artists really not getting the credit for their music. Or we know Little Richard basically started rock and roll, but they didn't want a black face. When white kids started listening to it, they didn't want a black face to be the head of rock and roll, and he got pushed back on the shelf a little bit. A lot of his stuff got stolen, and we know these things have happened. A lot of songs were just taken away and remade, and there was nothing the artist could do. They didn't have money for attorneys. They just had to sit back and take. And we hear these stories about Elvis. Me being a big Elvis guy, I know Fish is.
Mm-hmm.
Does it start to tarnish his legacy a little bit when you hear this stuff? because it seems to be becoming more and more. Things come out in the out of the woodwork that we hear. I definitely want you to watch this video and come back with an opinion. But can we really trust what we've been taught, what we've been told? Nothing is as it seems. You look at some of the inventions that people have gotten credit for. They didn't invent it. Edison didn't invent, some of the things that he claims he invented. Some of the stuff he stole from Nikolai Tesla, and it was easy to do because he was a foreigner. And so with the music industry as it is, does it tarnish the image of some of these greats, especially Elvis Presley, when we hear some of these things, Skinner?
It starts to wear on you, that's for sure. The more you hear different stories here and there, everybody thinks he was into drugs and alcohol and he died from an overdose, and or he hasn't died. It's little stories here and there. I think it starts to break down the armor a little bit of his legacy.
As great as I thought Led Zeppelin was, you got to see this extraordinary video. Led Zeppelin stole almost all their great hits from blues artists. You got to hear some of these blues songs that were written in the 40s and whatever, and Zeppelin just took them and gave them a little bit of rock. They just blatantly ripped them off.
That's very true.
Some of them had the exact same words.
Right.
I'm like, wow, man, this is your legacy.
I don't know which songs you're referring to, but I have heard that as well with Led Zeppelin.
I'll send you the video.
To wrap up with Elvis, I don't want his legacy tarnished, but we can't help to think that he's starting to lose a little bit of his armor as time goes on. The more we hear about what really happened, you start to wonder.
There's a scripture that basically says everything done in the dark will eventually come to the light. And I think we're at that age where we're going to start seeing some of that stuff happen. Fish, any thoughts?
I don't know, man. I mean, that stuff happens all over the music industry, I'm sure. A lot of it, some of it's definitely intentional. A lot of it's also unintentional, where you're influenced and everything. So, I mean, there's always so much you could do with music to where something is going to sound like something that somebody else did at one point or another. And
hold on.
Go ahead.
I totally agree with that. And in the music industry, we have a saying, nothing is totally original.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about straight up stole. Zeppelin, these songs they stole, some of them they use the same exact words. You know what I mean? Not just took a riff here and there, but the same music and the exact same words. Just, they got a distorted guitar and the power drums and things like that. So that's what we're talking about. I just wanted to be clear. I'm not talking about, unintentional. You think of something because everything you hear is in the back of your mind and your subconscious.
Right.
And sometimes you can write something, you think you're coming up with something new. Me and my friend John Stafford have a running joke. He's the guy that got me started in music when I was 17 years old. And I thought I could write lyrics. And one day I wrote the greatest song in the world. I called him, took a cab to his house, and started working on the music. And he cracked up laughing. It was Prophecy from Queensryche. I wrote it. I just changed the words, man. It was in my head, and I thought I wrote something original. And to this day, he teases me about that. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just blatant stealing. Go ahead, bud.
No, good point. I mean, I does it make me think less of Elvis Presley? No, not necessarily. I mean, just because he had the presence, he had the personality, he had the showmanship and everything. People should be given their proper credits if there was any blatant stealing, for sure. But as far as him as a performer, still going to be a big fan. That's just how I view it, I guess.
Okay. Me personally, it's like Dion. Yeah, I think less of you. I still enjoy watching you play. I still enjoy watching Elvis movies. I still enjoy watching Elvis performances.
Right.
But yeah, I do think a lot less of you. You weren't as great as you have led people to believe. Led Zeppelin, you're not as great as you've led people to believe. I don't know how you can't think less of people when you've took other people's work and rode it to the top. And especially didn't give them any credit. I think a lot less of them. Rappers get excoriated all the time for taking people's music and turning them into beats and stuff.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up Milli Vanilli when you talk about this.
Well, that's different. That's different. Milli Vanilli was paid.
It was supposed to be a joke. It didn't come off that way, but
I mean, you look at the flack the rappers get for taking people's music and making raps out of them. So anyway, just my thought. Okay. The other music story I had today, this day in music, the Supremes started a 2-week run at #1 with Where Did Our Love Go? That was their first #1 hit. Holland and Dozier helped write those songs. Dozier was Lamont Dozier, one of the first guys to get signed on Motown. If you watch the movie The Temptations, they were all ticked off because Lamont Dozier was in high school with them, and he got signed and bought a new car, and all the girls were flocking to him. But I brought the Supremes things up because we have an interesting, I guess you'll call it top 4 list coming up concerning Motown. Diana Ross and Supremes is another interesting story where you can, depending on what you read, some of the things she did, and kind of shunned them away when she went on to single stardom. The Supremes were a great group in their own right. Diana Ross was great as a solo act, but the Supremes were a great group in their own right. So I just brought the Supreme story up because we're going to do the Motown thing later, and we'll get more into it after that. Other than that, pop culture, take it away.
Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Show will return after these messages.
Bang, bang, bang. Oh, howdy, partner. Time for timer. Do you ever get that hungry feeling after school? Boy, I do. I'm so hungry, I could eat a wagon wheel. When I'm slow on the draw and I need something to chaw, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. When my 10-gallon hat's a feeling 5 gallons flat, I got something planned, which is little cheese sandwiches. Come on. Here's a great little snack to tide you over till dinner. If you want something delicious and nutritious, cheese is a super snack. Look, a wagon wheel. When my get up and go has got up and went, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. When I'm dancing, I hold down and my boots kind of slow down, or anytime I'm weak in the knees. I hanker for a hunk of, a slab or slice and chunk of, a snacker that is a winner, and yet won't spoil my dinner. I hanker for a hunk of cheese.
All right. Well, why don't we start here, guys, with Gen X media recommendations. So if you saw or heard anything over the past couple of weeks here that you found you want to recommend to others out there, again, it could be a book, it could be a comic book, it could be a movie, television show, music, event, something like that you want to recommend. Again, we're not saying you have to be Gen X to like what we're recommending, but just Gen X media recommendations. So, Keith, you got anything you saw or heard over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, a couple quick things. A few days ago on Netflix, I watched a movie called Kate. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I have not.
I forget the young lady who's the star of it, but the co-star is Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson is her handler. She's a CIA agent. He took her in as a child, trained her as an assassin. She is no joke. And she's, on doing all these missions, assassinating people, and she goes to kill this one Yakuza guy, and right before she pulls the trigger, his little girl gets out the car, and she doesn't want to pull the trigger because that's her thing, no kids, and they're like, you got to go now, and she does pull that trigger and kill this guy, and watching the little girl scream just messed with her so bad. She tells Woody Harrelson, hey, I'm quitting. This is my last mission. I'm going to finish this thing out, and I'm done. Well, she meets a guy at a bar that night, and they go back to her place, and things get hot and heavy and whatever, and they have some drinks, and she goes on her next mission and starts getting dizzy, and she goes on one of the greatest car chases I've ever seen. I've never seen a car chase film like this. She takes some young kid's car, souped up with neon lights and stuff, film like nothing you've ever seen, and she ends up in the hospital, find out she has some kind of chromium poison. She was poisoned. She has 24 hours to live. So she spends the next 24 hours finding out who killed her. And man, you talk about some great fighting and violence. Kate on Netflix. And the other thing is, have you guys seen the movie The Lincoln Lawyer with Matthew McConaughey?
Skinner talked about the series last week.
Oh, that's right. That's where. Well, I watched the whole series.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you binge it? Okay.
Well, phenomenal. Phenomenal. Loved it.
Kept you on your toes. That's for sure.
Kept you on your toes. Did you watch it?
Oh, me and Marcy binged it in 3 days. We watched
Loved it. Couldn't
Yeah.
get enough of it, man. Had to get to the end. Yeah, great stuff. So those are mine.
You're good. Skinner, you got anything?
Miss Marcy and I have started watching a show on Netflix called Echoes. It's about two twins played by Michelle Monaghan. She has been in a lot of stuff. Most notably, it was what is it called? Bridesmaid, I believe, with Patrick Dempsey was her bridesmaid, quote unquote. She was his best friend. I think it might not be that name. Anyway, she plays twins, and they go about life every year. They switch off from Gina is the one character. She lives out in LA. She's married to guy that his name is what the hell is his Daniel Sungata is who plays the character. He's a Hollywood lawyer, and then Lena, the other sister, they have a horse farm in Virginia, and every year they swap characters. One goes the other, and it's a thriller, and it's very, very interesting. Right out the gate, the one sister goes missing, and they start trying to piece things together. It's an all-star. I don't want to say an all-star cast, but there's quite a few characters you're going to see in the show.
Matt Bomer's in there.
Matt Bomer from White Collar, USA
Mike.
show.
He was in Magic Mike.
He was in Magic Mike as well. There's also Karen Robinson. She is a older black lady with the most beautiful
white
eyes,
hair,
biggest eyes that I've ever seen on a widescreen television. She's playing in a lot of stuff too. She plays the sheriff in the show. But anyways, it's a really good.
That movie you're talking about was Maid of Honor.
Maid of Honor. That's what it was. She had really short hair in there, but she's played in a lot of stuff since then.
You know where I remember her from? She was Tom Cruise's wife in the couple of the Mission Impossibles, the recent one.
Yeah, you're right. She was. She absolutely was. So you want a thriller, one that's going to keep you... Marcy's like, this is a crazy-ass show, pardon French. But that was her exact words. This is a crazy-ass show. I don't know if I want to continue it. But she will absolutely continue to watch it because she was on her toes the whole time.
All right, I got to check that out.
But Echoes on Netflix.
Cool. 3 for Netflix. What you got, Fish?
All right, a couple things. Real fast, I just finished this last evening, but it's a documentary on Netflix. The Girlfriend Who Didn't Exist. This was the story of...
Oh, My Love Life.
Yeah.
They put my documentary on finally.
Yeah. Sure.
Teo.
Yep. Yeah.
But, I saw that. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw the preview for that.
Yeah, Manny Teo from the earlier 2000, no, late 90s, early 2000s, whatever. No, earlier 2000s is what it was.
Started with Notre Dame.
Player. Yeah, he was a heck of a football player and got. Long story short, he was catfished.
Oh, Manti Teo. Yeah.
Manti Teo.
Yeah.
I said it wrong. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but they interview everybody that was involved in this current documentary, and it just makes you feel for the guy.
Yeah,
really
I felt for him a long time ago.
Oh my
Something
God,
happened.
he really took a beating in the media.
But still, it was wrong how they did him.
Yeah, they really did. So, yeah, it's not necessarily a feel-good story, but it's a very interesting story. And I appreciate the fact that this guy did this documentary and came out and just seemed to be completely honest, him and his parents. And then the guy that did the catfishing as well is in this too. So it's just, anyway, very interesting. Another interesting documentary also on Netflix, Trainwreck, the story of Woodstock 99. So this was just the last Woodstock festival that there was, and just a lot of stuff happened to where it just
Terrible.
ended with kids literally burning down the base where they had this, not the entire base, but they burnt stuff down. It just completely, they did not have the proper planning or facilities or security or anything to make this a safe environment.
Ridiculous
And
money for water.
exactly. So, but just very interesting. Tons of footage is available. They interviewed some kids that were at the Woodstock, the actual promoters and everything. So it's a 3-part documentary on Netflix, Trainwreck Woodstock '99. Definitely a good watch. 2 quick movies. I did see Day Shift, which is the vampire hunter movie with Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg.
How's that?
Yeah. So I know we talked about the previews and all that previously. You know what? It's not the greatest movie in the world, but I tell you what, it's a fun movie, and the fight scenes and the driving scenes are worth the view in itself. So definitely check that out. And finally, I just came across in my Amazon Prime feed, X. So it's just like a couple bucks to rent on Amazon Prime. It is about...
That's Skinner's documentary.
That's right. That's right. X, right? EX. EX. It's a 10-hour-long movie, the Mike Skinner story.
Yeah, jeez.
No, but it's set in the 70s. It's about kids that are trying to make a porno, okay, and then they're looking for a set, like an old farmhouse set, and they basically pick the wrong farmhouse. So we'll kind of leave it there. So
yeah,
it definitely
I
has
a preview for that.
Yeah, so it's certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a lot of fun, and it's like in the same vein as like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where again it's not as good as Texas Chainsaw Massacre in my opinion. That's one of the best horror movies of all time, but it has that feel of you're tense, there's uneasiness, and it's just got that gritty feel to it, and some very disturbing scenes in this movie. So if you're looking for a dark comedy / horror movie that definitely want to make you a little uneasy, definitely rent X on Amazon Prime. So that's my couple media recommendations for you. All right. Okay, so some pop culture news here. So we did have a death here recently. Virginia Patton. She was 97 years of age, and you probably don't recognize her by her name, but she was the last adult actor, on from It's a Wonderful Life. So the classic holiday movie. There's child actors that are still alive, but she was the last adult. It just made me pause for a second to reflect on that. That's a movie that I've definitely worked into my holiday rotation, and I don't know, just kind of sad that all the adult actors have passed on here. So it just made me kind of pause and reflect there a little bit there. So,
well, it's also amazing at the same time. That was a black and white film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 97.
To have someone still alive today from, well, recently, from a black and white era.
She played what?
She played Ruth Dakin Bailey. She married one of the Bailey boys.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Not the main character, Jimmy Stewart, but his brother.
Yes. She played his sister-in-law in the movie. That's right. Yeah. So classic movie, classic actress. So, rest in peace. And She-Hulk dropped last week. So they've had one episode they're going to release every Thursday, and it's getting some, I've seen kind of mixed reviews on it. I did watch the first episode, but it is getting a lot of positive reviews. It's kind of a, office comedy type feel to it. So, She-Hulk was always kind of an interesting character in the comics anyway, because she could transform herself sort of at will, and she was always kind of funny and interesting and that type of thing. But I thought it was okay. I don't know. I mean, it's Marvel. We can have a whole big topic on the Hulk, and they really don't seem like they continue to get the Hulk correct. To me, he was closest in the Avengers movie. I don't know, but the first Avengers movie, that is. But I don't want to make it about the Hulk, but I overall I thought it was okay. I'll continue to watch it. So, have you guys seen the first She-Hulk? What'd you think? And do you plan on giving it more of a chance? Keith, what'd you think? Did you see it yet?
First, can I make a quick comment on Virginia
Please.
Patton passing?
Yes, please go ahead.
The It's a Wonderful Life is one of those movies that I had never really seen. I've seen bits and pieces growing up, but never watched it until a few years ago.
Me too. Same deal.
I got the job of doing what they call Foley work for the live radio broadcast of It's a Wonderful Life. We put it on year after year after year. As a matter of fact, I think last 2 years, the first years I haven't done it. And what the Foley work is, when they used to do this on the radio, me and another lady by the name of Vicky, we would have a long table. We had shoes on the table. We had a door that we closed. We had a phone, so we had to ring the phones at the right time. When he was running in the snow, we had a pan of cornflakes. We had to run the shoes in the cornflakes. We did all the sounds. And
wow.
you got to be on. You got to know the script, and you got to be on, because you can't, when the phone rings, you got to be bringing it when they pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
And there's a group of actors standing in front doing the main characters on the mic. And I thought it would be stupid, and I loved it every year. You get so involved into it. If you haven't seen the live radio broadcast version of It's a Wonderful Life, look for it. I hope we do it again this year. You just become more involved in the show, watching them stand there and read, and you hear it and you imagine it. And then I went and watched the movies, and I can't get enough of it. It's just one of the greatest stories ever told. So anyway, I watched She-Hulk, and I got to say this. I was getting tired of all this funny stuff with Marvel. I tend to like my superhero stuff on the serious side.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I actually enjoyed this. It was lighthearted. It was fun, but it was cool. You got to see some cool stuff. I love when he was training her and they were throwing rocks and he threw over the cliff, all that stuff. I thought it was pretty interesting and fun. I totally agree with you about the Hulk. I am not digging Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
I thought the Avengers movies, they nailed it.
Yeah.
Because one of the things they did, this face, he was so dirty. Remember the one with Eric Bana? He was all like bright green and everything, and it was weird. Yeah,
terrible.
This one, you could see the dirt in the skin and the grime, and he was just ugly and scary looking. I remember when he spit out of his mouth, I was like, oh my gosh. I thought that was perfect back then. This Smart Hulk stuff, I mean, it looks like a Hulk with a Jerry curl. Like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
and he doesn't look right. He looks like he's smaller. I'm not digging it either. But I did enjoy She-Hulk. I thought it was a fun show, and I'm going to keep watching it.
All right. Skinner, did you see, you saw the first episode?
I did see the first episode, and I guess I'm holding judgment because I didn't get enough yet. I agree with Porter. It was fun. It was light. But yeah, I want to hold judgment until I see a little bit more. And you guys are absolutely right. They just cannot seem to get Hulk just right. They did in the movies. They did in the Avengers, but there's something about him with this one that's just off too. But the movie's not supposed to be about him. It's supposed to be about her. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I hope this isn't a trend that everything's got to be funny now. I hope this isn't a trend.
Yeah, it's got to stop.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out. And as I thought was interesting, so the Paramount Pictures is getting ready to revisit Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So there's in the movie, if you've seen the movie, most of us here have seen the movie. There's a scene where they take out the dad's Ferrari and they take it to a parking garage and they let the valets take it. And there's a scene where these two guys jump in it and take off, and that's it. So then next thing you know, they pick the car up later, and all these miles are on it, and they're flipping out and everything else. So this movie tells the story of what happened to those two dudes that took that car out that day. So I thought that was interesting. You don't have to relate it to the movie other than that, because something happened, obviously. So it's whatever they did that day. So it's their day off. It is. It's in here somewhere. But anyways, it's those two guys' day off, while Ferris Bueller is kind of doing his thing with his friends. So I thought that was kind of a cool concept. I'll definitely check it out. So,
Excuse me.
now, Skinner, you have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Are you interested in this concept to have a different branch of the story as a separate story? Go ahead.
I like the idea that it's a spinoff.
Yes.
I didn't want them revamping the original movie because you're not going to do it justice.
No.
A spinoff is great. And yeah, I'm interested in seeing what happened that day because that's eluded us all these years as to what they actually did.
Mm-hmm.
So, Porter, what do you think about it?
Okay, very funny. All right, everybody. I have not seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'm going to see that movie and Raiders of the Lost Ark so you two can set your beer shoots.
Yeah, so Keith considers himself, he's a Gen X, and he has not seen two of the greatest Gen X era movies
of all time.
Arguably, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So we give you 3 weeks or your Gen X card is officially revoked.
I'm going to watch them. I'm going to watch them.
Okay. All right. So this week of pop culture history, guys, here. Way back in 1961, and Keith, you alluded to this earlier, Motown releases the first #1 hit song by the Marvels, and it was Mr. Postman. So, you probably know this song. I'm sure, definitely in our generation, you've heard this song out there. It's just a terrific song here. So
absolutely is.
It was covered later by the Carpenters, who actually did a very nice version of it. But the Marvels had the first #1 song, so that kind of made us think here a little bit. And our Gen X files list here, guys. Interested to know your personal Mount Rushmores of Motown artists. So give me your top 4 Motown artists. Keith, why don't you start us out?
Okay. For me, number 4 has to be Marvin Gaye. Not only was he one of the greatest voices of all time, Marvin Gaye took a stand as far as the direction of his career and gave us some of the best social commentary on the Black experience. And some of those, especially some of his songs are just utterly amazing. So he's number 4. Number 3, you got to go with the Supremes, just because it also led to the solo career of Diana Ross, just some of the greatest music of all time. Number 3, and I really had a hard. Number 2. I'm sorry, I had a hard time not putting them at number 1, but they're my favorite group from that era. That is the Temptations.
Yeah.
To me, just some of the best songs ever recorded. And I just love them. I love the movie. I love their story. But I had to go with number 1 because this person, he was Motown before the Temptations came along. He helped guide their career. He wrote some of their greatest songs, and that would be Smokey Robinson. Without him.
Yeah.
Smokey was just smooth. He was cool, and he's still doing his thing. So that's my top 4.
Very good. Skinner?
He must have a camera in my room down here or something.
Actually, I do, but that's for different reasons.
Are you freaking kidding me? I have the same 4, but a little bit different. A little bit different.
Oh, wow.
I have Supremes at the number 4. If you've never heard this "Stop in the Name of Love," you've never heard music, in my opinion.
I agree,
that song is one of those. "Baby Love" was another one for the Supremes. I had Temptations at number 3. Just to watch them on stage, they were so smooth.
Oh my God.
So gentle. To be truthful, that's a term that you don't use a lot when it comes to music, but they were so gentle on stage.
Here's the crazy part, Marty. If you watch the Temptations movies, the guys who played the parts, even better. Yeah,
it's crazy. "My Girl" is probably my favorite song from the Temptations. I had Marvin Gaye at number 2. "How Sweet It Is." Heard It Through the Grapevine. "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" is probably one of my favorite Motown songs of all time. was tough, but I got Smokey at number one too. Smokey Robinson is the epitome of Motown,
All right.
hands down. Tears of a Clown would probably be my number one song. Ain't No Mountain High Enough would be a close second for me when it comes to Motown music.
All right, go ahead and tell your girl you can take that camera out the bedroom now. I've seen enough. I got what I needed.
All right. Well, it's hard to pick. Just there's so many great artists that came out of Motown, certainly. So, I just picked four of my favorites here. I don't have any repeats. How about that?
Wow.
Really?
You usually always picking us. Go ahead.
Yep. So I've got Stevie Wonder. So
can't go wrong
there. Again, just
can't go wrong.
The sheer talent, writing, singing, playing. The Supremes, I just love their sound. That is 60s. That is that sound. They're the epitome of that sound of that era. Then obviously Diana Ross, like you said, had a wonderful career on her own. But I just love their stuff. It just feel good music all the way around. Aretha Franklin, just one of the best voices that you're ever going to hear in your lifetime. She was just amazing. And I got Michael Jackson. I mean, just again, arguably singing, writing, performing, one of the greatest talents that has ever lived and ever will live was Michael Jackson. All the weird stuff and everything aside, strictly talking about the performer and the talent.
I would actually put the Jacksons there. Jackson 5.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, when you think of Motown and Michael Jackson, the Jacksons are right. The Jackson 5 is where it's all about.
Yep. All right. Good stuff. Good list here, guys. A couple other quick things in the world in pop culture history. Just want to mention real fast here. On August 23rd, back in 1991, the information superhighway was introduced. So it was the debut of the internet. It seems like it would have been a longer, but it was in 1991. Sir Timothy John Berners-Lee introduced the world to his invention. So this is from popculturehistory.com. Back in 1978, he helped to create a typesetting software for printers, and by 1980, but it was the first website he built, debuted at that time, and it's centered around information regarding a World Wide Web project. So visitors could learn more about hypertext, technical details, and creating their own web page, and even an explanation how to search the web for information. So he started the whole thing out, and today he's the director of web science research of the Web Science Research Initiative and a member of the advisory board of the MIT Center for Collective Intelligence. So very smart man. 1991, and you talked about, fast forward, all these folks are getting news and information from social media, but it all started way back in 91, the kickoff of the information superhighway. So don't have much time to get into opinions, but I just thought that was an interesting date. Back in 1964 on August the 26th, so this coming Friday, arguably one of the greatest Disney movies that of all time debuted. Mary Poppins debuted back in 1964. Wow. Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke, just iconic. I mean, arguably, again, one of the best. And growing up, definitely one of my favorites as a kid in those classic Disney movies. Great songs, and just the blend, one of the earlier blends of live action, as we know, and animated characters in that movie, with Dick Van Dyke dancing with the penguins and stuff like that. So at the time, that was super innovative. Absolutely. Supercalifragic. Exactly right. And then August the 27th, 1955, the first Guinness Book of World Records was published back in 55. So, and you didn't really, I mean, it's by the Guinness Beer Company. So it's kind of a, to help with people's arguments about records and all, they decided to put an official record out there.
Do you know I just made that connection?
Yeah, and I never did either for years.
Never thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, those Guinness people, they must be some geniuses somewhere. Bunch of beer drinkers.
That's it. That's it. They just wanted to get the official record of this is what it was. So there you go. Back in 1955.
I'm actually
so there you have it.
Book of World Records.
Are you? For what?
Yes. Going the longest time without having a clue.
There you go.
That's about real quick. Real quick, Fish. You didn't mention it earlier when you were talking about passings. Familiar with Anne Hesh? She passed away this past weekend.
Yes. That's right.
Tragic story. Not quite sure. They have deemed it an accident.
Car accident. Yeah.
Not sure what's happened yet, but prayers to her and her family. I've known her over the years, even before, when she was with Ellen DeGeneres for a while. Then she got married, had a couple kids. She's been in some great movies. Most recently, she was in Chicago PD. She played a pretty good role for a couple of years. So I wanted to at least, say prayers to her and her family.
Sure, absolutely.
With that. So we are at the end. I'm not even going to let you two Bozo start in on it.
I got a couple quick announcements real fast.
Go ahead and get your announcements in there, my man.
Okay, real fast. Hey, I'm doing this one. One of the fine institutions or businesses that we mentioned on here, Mac Pharmacy. One of the young ladies there, Jeannie. Roslyn Avenue, if you're here in the Akron area. I know we got some Akron listeners here. Paul Enix, we're really grateful for him. But the Roslyn Avenue will have a block yard sale August 27th and 28th, Saturday and Sunday. Also September 3rd and 4th. So a whole block sale on Roslyn Avenue. Come check it out. Buy yourself a block. I don't know. if you don't have any blocks, that's where you want to come get it from.
Okay, and then Skinner wants you to give us an outro. He has the Guinness Book of World Records, Keith, the most consecutive weeks for the perfect outro of a podcast.
So for these bozos, Keith Porter and Brian Fisher, I'm Michael Skinner. We're the guys from Gen X. We appreciate you. Tell a friend about us, and some news coming up here soon. The show may be expanding a little bit. Yeah. Have a great week, folks.
That was actually pretty good. That was actually pretty good.
We're expanding. Skinner's having more kids.
Grandkids, yes. No more kids here.
Take care, everybody.
Stay strong, Gen X.
Hey, this is Skinner from Came From GenX. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and like, and we'll see you next time.